seems we are live then for the first time.
Yeah. Should we double check if you're really live?
Well, it says on air, but maybe a double check will be nice.
Yeah, let me also double check on my end. Da-da-da-da. I think we are live, but I can't see it. Is it? Are we live? Yes, we are live. I can.
Okay.
Funny enough, I can see your stream.
That's okay, nice. Well, if you can see my stream. I assume you also enabled it because you needed to flip the switch, something like that.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Okay,
well, it works.
Yeah,
First
let's
stream.
party then. And then Ugur left, I think. Oh, and you're back, I think.
I knew something was not right. It was too easy.
It was too easy. What was it? Wasn't working or what?
Let me see if I can turn on my camera again. Come on.
Bye, Ugur.
Yeah. Hey guys. Well, now I can see you, Rudy, but I can't see myself, which is nice.
No, it's a nice black screen.
Let me switch to this stream. There we go.
Oh, but yeah.
This one is not the right one.
Oh, there it is.
It works.
And he's back.
It's super laggy. I don't know why. It's crazy.
And
Whatever.
there it comes. Did you try to switch it off and on?
Yeah. Look at that. That also works. There we go. All right. Yeah, I mean, welcome everyone.
Welcome everyone to the first show.
Couple of technical issues on my side, which is, I think,
just
fine
a few.
Now. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, let's go into the topics right in. We have a lot of things to discuss today.
Exactly.
We have some slides prepared for today's session. So first of all, this is the first time.
We have slides.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the first time, everyone that is listening in, and depending on the, yeah, it's always DNS. Depending on the feedback, we will look into if and how we proceed with this series right now. But the hosts here today, if you don't know any one of us both, quick introduction. Rudy, I will introduce you if you want, if it's okay for you. And you can introduce me.
Guest. Yeah,
that's the first challenge for today, right? Okay, so I have with me Rudy. I think everyone will know Rudy. He is the one that troubleshoots a lot. He likes to break stuff. What was it? I think your LinkedIn bio says you like to break stuff before they go GA.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that, and you work on creating also the blog posts and go into detail. And yeah, that's you. And you're also an Intune MVP.
Yeah, I removed that from my LinkedIn page because I was like, I rather put troublemaker in the title than Intune MVP. So yeah, troublemaker above Intune MVP. It sounds better, and maybe it's the same thing, or it could be the same thing. But then, yeah, well, that was me, and then we have Ugur on the, I want to say on the top side, depends how you're looking at it, but somehow he's a product manager at Glückkanja, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
My German isn't that great, but at least I think I can pronounce it.
You did very well.
Okay, well, what else do we want? And somehow he works with computers, and well, working with computers, I think he does a little bit more than working with computers. I think everyone knows him for all the tools he created within a couple months. all the things he put together, and he's still doing the same thing. So yeah, what a perfect match. One troublemaker and one that is awesome, creating all the tools that everyone needs. So here we are.
Yeah. So I think let's also talk about what this is today. So we have prepared a couple of community questions. So we basically picked them from the comments that people asked in. And this is a live conversation. We haven't prepared the answers to these questions.
So just
we will answer them basically live and try to do our best effort with our knowledge. I think the best thing about today's session is not only answering the community questions, but we also have two very important topics for today's session.
I think we do.
Yeah, and just remember everyone listening in, we don't know everything, and we will likely have questions that we can't answer, but we like to follow up on these questions as well.
Exactly. What we don't know now, we can answer tomorrow.
So because we are still learning with this concept right now that we're having, we allow basically questions from the chat. So if you are listening in on LinkedIn and YouTube, we are seeing these questions on the sidebar. You don't see that, but we are seeing it. For example, this question right here, I will show it and hide it right after that. The problem that we will probably have is we are trying and aiming for a 1 hour session. So I think we will. Best. Yeah, we will focus on the things that we have prepared, and if you have time left, we will definitely go into answering questions from the chat during this session. All right, so today's topics, we will start with the community questions. We will look at two very important topics, and I think we just right before I clicked on live, I saw on LinkedIn a couple of posts around certificates as well, which is funny.
From Martin Himken, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Martin, we were reading both the same.
Yeah, I was reading. I have it open on my second screen. That's funny. Yeah. No, that's perfect timing.
Yeah, because exactly everyone is looking at it. Everyone is trying to fix it. At least deploying a policy to ensure that those certificates will be updated automatically, but somehow. Well, it can be working, it couldn't be working, and that's one of the topics we are going to discuss or look at today with some funny, I think funny things, because I'm going to try, so don't blame me if it's not going to work. I'm going to try to look at the real code behind the policy manager and how that policy will come down to the device just by looking at it. So if it's working, great. If it's not working, well, we can try again.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the sense of doing some live demos. That's fine.
And all right. Well, and we also had that other certificate that's going to expire.
Sorry.
It's a long story, but I want to put it in there because, well, that's why I think the troublemaker part really fits into that topic. So yeah, but that's something we are also going to discuss.
I have before you mentioned these topics, I haven't even looked into these topics. So I'm very looking forward what you have to tell me about that and explain stuff. So I'm here to ask the hard questions. And Martin is also here joining in from the chat, I see. Oh. Hi, Martin. Well, I think we can go ahead and start. Let me actually make this one a bit larger so people can read the questions as well. So this is one of the community questions that we had. I will just read it so people can follow along. How do you design Intune and Entra ID in a way that scales cleanly over years without turning into an unmaintainable policy jungle? I'm especially curious about long-term strategy here, how you structure policies, assignments, naming conventions, and ownership so that growth, new security requirements, and team changes don't slowly turn Intune into something nobody fully understands anymore. Where do you draw the line between flexible and future technical depth? Rudy, I'm very interested in your opinion on that.
Well, looking at the question itself, he's already explaining the answer or giving the answer a little bit, in my opinion, because naming conventions, that's where it all starts, right? Because if you don't set up a proper naming convention from the start, everything you do later on, every policy you need to adjust or update or create a version 2 of it, and you don't have a proper name convention in place, that can be awful. But then again, if you're the only IT guy in the company, well, it's all fine. But if more people are working on the same thing and they don't follow the naming conventions of the naming convention rules, yeah, you can end up in a world of pain. And just like Engine was talking about, you don't really see what's going to happen or what's happening, or if you duplicate a policy, is it version 1, version 2, what is it going to be targeted at a device, is it targeted at a user, what's its purpose? So yeah, just like Joost is telling, create a baseline with a good naming convention. That's where it starts, in my opinion. I think Joost says the same thing or thinks the same thing, so there's at least 2 people thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I tend to agree your opinion on that. I think like if you're a bigger shop with a lot of admins that work inside Intune, I think the number one priority should be using scope tags on your policies.
So that no
there
one can.
Yeah, there are good reasons why not everyone should be able to access, for example, compliance policies. You don't want, if you have them set up, you normally don't touch them.
Don't touch them, please don't.
Yeah.
Well, if you it's Friday and you're like, well, let's see what's going to happen on Monday. Just adjust every single compliance policy and go home and see what happens. But yeah.
Well, I think like especially for macOS, I saw a lot of people having problems when you change compliance policies and things get re-evaluated, and then Intune is can be slow.
Especially how you assign it and the whole mechanism behind it. So yeah, you really want to ensure that no one's going to touch those policies.
Oh yeah. So I think that, but on the other side, I think that policies do evolve. So we get new settings in, and like imagine you're starting with setting up Intune and all the policies. You have a version 1, right?
Yeah.
And then someday someone says, hey, I want to have BitLocker encryption 512-bit, right?
Exactly.
And then what do? Do you create a new policy with a version 2 in the name? The thing that I want to mention is there's no versioning in the policies per se natively. You can work around that and having like a list of policies of version 1, version 2. And then I think a lot of you will agree that the list of policies in Intune will then just grow, right? It's a lot of policies.
School, infinite school.
Yes, and you can't really follow which policies to set where. You have to really click through all the settings, understand.
It will be amazing that they just gave a possibility just to search inside that pane for the policy itself. That will be lovely.
Search for the settings value.
Yeah.
That would be like that would be gold. There are tools out there from the community that do help with these things, but that's definitely a big problem that I see in a lot of companies. So that's Joost. He really knows his stuff. Yeah, exactly, Joost. That's the problems. The macOS compliance policies do not only check, but they also set the settings on the devices.
Even some Windows compliance policies, they just set they set the policy the same with the password compliance policies, because it relies on the Exchange Active Sync mechanism behind it, and it just triggers to set the policy instead of only checking it, which is funny as well.
Yeah, I think here's a very good point in that naming and description is obviously very important, but you have to be very strict. So there's no, you can't pre-configure a set, what is it, a schema basically for your naming conventions. So if you have a second or third admin in your team that doesn't follow the naming convention very strictly, it tends to break the naming conventions, and then things are called different. And also, like, just one thing, like I saw a lot of environments and Intune tenants. I never saw anyone keeping the description updated.
Oh yeah, that's something that you also need to keep updating the moment you change the policy or change the version. At least put in the description what changed with the version, maybe, so you have some versioning history in it, so you at least see what happened with the policy. But yeah, well, back in the day when I was working for an MSP, we had a golden rule: if you change something and you, I'm not allowed to swear, but if you change something and it broke something, or you did something what wasn't allowed, and we figured it out that you did it, you need to pay for the whole company some sandwiches, or you need to pay something to relieve you from the guilt that you changed something which you weren't supposed to do. And that helped, because people were afraid to do so.
Yeah, and he's like, I think Tomislav, is it right? Yeah, that's so. This question is very important, but this question that Engin had was, it isn't exactly about Intune. It's more about an organizational type of work.
It's an organization.
Like, how do you? Yeah, it's not a technical thing. Well, you could apply technical boundaries around the naming conventions. You could obviously use toolings around that, but because that's not natively available, people tend to not follow these things strictly, right? But obviously, a good description is very important. Also, because it's not very easy for everyone to understand what impact and policy has, right? You have a setting set inside your policy.
Yeah.
But what does it really mean? What's the effect? What's the user impact on that, right? If you have OneDrive settings, for example, configured, what is the user impact, right?
Exactly.
These things
you need to know
should be
every
documented.
single policy, what it does, and just deploying one security baseline with 1001 settings in it, which you don't know what it's going to do. No, but that's a totally different story. But yeah, that's, you need to know every single policy, what it does, and what it could potentially break on the devices.
Exactly. I think, yeah, let's move to the second. There's a lot of really nice comments here, but I think we should move on because we will not be able to finish today.
It's going to be a long, long evening.
Exactly. And it's also a long day already, so let's not make it too long. All right, so Dan has a question. Based on the configurations in the tenants I see, I think there is confusion about who you should be applying compliance policies to the device or to the user, a single policy or multiple policies. Oh, that's a great question. Rudy.
Yeah, it's always how do you call it? I'm not going to mention their names, but I know that some people try to set policies to user groups, and they don't like to set it to the device groups. But in my opinion, everything that is related to security, well, needs to be defined to a device group. Because the same with enrollment of every single device configuration policy that has something to do with security, you really want to target the device. So in my opinion, device compliance policies, split them up, create a separate compliance policy for every single setting in it. So one policy for this, and one policy for this, one policy for this. So you can get a couple policies, but at least if you change something in the compliance policy, not everything is re-evaluated, only that part is re-evaluated. And yeah, assign it to devices. But I get it, because the same you had back in the day with the system account also being evaluated within the whole shit show, and the policy was not going compliant, or the device was not getting compliant because something was happening with the system account or something like that. I believe that is fixed some time ago, but still, yeah, targeting it to devices. But again, it depends on the policy, because I also know that some compliance policies. So I just said devices, but I'm also rectifying myself, because it depends on the policy. Because some policies you really want to set to user, because if you set to device, it could break your autopilot enrollment flow, which is also funny. Of autopilot enrollment, it could break the web sign-in, that whole mechanism that you can use for temporary access pass. If you assign a compliance policy targeted to a device, yeah, then it will break it. So then I will say, do the password compliance policy if you want to use a password compliance policy and target our user. So I guess how do you call it? It depends.
It depends. Well, I think I have a strong opinion on that. And one of the reasons is because of this comment here is, I don't know why it's not showing the username, but The comment says, I don't like targeting the user groups because if you have a separate policy for Windows 365 or stuff like that, it can give you unexpected results.
Another good reason.
Yeah, when I first started with Intune, I had basically in the first week the same question is, how do I assign the policies to devices or users? What's the difference? I think with the growing support of other services as well, including Windows 365, I tend to see a lot of people using device assignments, but strongly lean into device filters, basically having filters implemented.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
I don't know if it's still the case, but using device like the filters in the assignments made it so that the policy did apply or arrived on that device faster, because Intune didn't have to connect with Entra and calculate the group memberships.
And it's also cheaper, right, for them.
It's also cheaper. Yeah, it's faster for us. It
cheaper for
works,
them,
right? And cheaper for them.
Both worlds. Yeah.
Win-win situation.
Yeah, win-win. Exactly.
Here's one from Marcel, and also a take into consideration devices which doesn't have a user assigned. So security policies goes on devices, but in the end depends what you want to apply and achieve. Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah. Let me go to the questions in the chat. Yeah, I think we can go. I think that's enough for this question.
Yeah.
I think we answered that. Yeah. All right. Next question. Let's make it larger. There we go. Here is a question. Haha, I like that. So how can Linux devices, that's from Christoph, by the way. How can Linux devices automatically check into Intune without starting the Intune app and need to sign in manually? What can be done on Linux devices after Intune enrollment in addition to compliance checks?
Well, that one is yours, because Linux is not my cup of tea.
You haven't had any chance to work with that?
No, yeah, well, maybe a petit peu, but no. My how do you call it? My thing is Windows, but Linux, no. So I hope you know the answer, or at least I know that there is not much to configure or to do for Linux in Intune, but that's it.
Yeah. I have a lot of things to say about Linux and Intune, but I will save us some trouble and time. So I think, like, let me tell it that way is, yes. So Intune and Linux aren't very well friends. The support is very minimal in what Intune can do on Linux devices. Especially on Ubuntu devices that are fairly well supported. Red Hat is also supported, I think, officially. You can deploy configuration scripts. You can have custom compliance policies where you have basically a script that looks into the settings. For example, I don't know, is it on the latest OS version for example, and then it re-evaluates I think it's a JSON file where it looks into the numbers and strings, and then checks, hey, is this matching or not? And then if it's either compliant or non-compliant. That's basically it. You can't deploy any apps to it, so that's very.
That's pretty limited.
That's very limited. Yeah, a lot of it's limited. If some of the people that are listening in want to look into how it would be easier to manage Linux and how to make the onboarding a bit easier, because the onboarding, like Linux doesn't have autopilot, for example, right? So there's no service behind the setup assistant onboarding experience that we know from Windows and Mac OS. So for Linux, for Ubuntu, there's a feature that's called, I think it's called Auto Start, and that's basically used for Linux servers where you have Tensible or something like infrastructure as code. You have a configuration, and then you pull up the servers always with the same configuration. Ubuntu Desktop has this as well, where you can give it I think it's a YAML file, and then it will then just do the things that are configured in a YAML file. It will configure your system, your keyboard, your language, your time zone. It's basically like an ESP on Windows.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, somewhere on GitHub I have a project called Linux ESP, and then you can definitely find it there if you want to look into it.
Well, it's worth
Specifically for
trying.
this, yeah, specifically for these questions, Christoph, like you have to still open the Intune app. As far as I know, I haven't looked into it like for the last 2 or 3 months. If there wasn't a big update, you still have to open the Intune app to basically check in and sync the configuration scripts and the custom compliances. Yeah, but overall it's very limited. But it's better than nothing if you only have Intune as
That's
your
one way to
MDM.
put it.
Yeah, I could talk about it all day, but let's close it here. Do you have anything to add to it?
No, I didn't do a lot with Linux back in the day, and I'm still not doing a lot with Linux these days. So
yeah, lucky you.
nothing to it. Yeah, lucky me.
Yeah. Well, next question. I'll make this a bit larger. This is from Anton. Is there any way to find out what devices is particular driver update applicable to without approving it? Intune shows number of applicable devices, but no possibility to drill to devices.
Oh, a nice important question.
I'm pretty sure that's, yeah. I honestly haven't looked into the Graph API behind that. Like the UI doesn't show that. That's
Nope.
true.
But I assume you can get it with Graph.
I mean, the data has to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's accessible with Graph API, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I would have to look into it myself.
Sounds like a question for Sander Rosemuller, but he's not on the call, so too bad.
Yeah. Next question. No, sorry, Anton. I think I would recommend you looking into a couple of community things, solutions, and also the WFB reports that Martin has just mentioned. But I think if you want to really get to the device level of things and reporting, what I do a lot is look at Graph API. I haven't looked into driver updates, obviously, but if it should be there, I'm pretty sure. If it's not, well, yeah.
We can blame you.
Exactly, blame me. Oh, that's I hate that. Printer mapping, shared drives, how to best way to deal with. Yeah.
It's always a
Rudy.
funny question when Microsoft is sitting at the same table. They so hate printing, mapping, shared drive mappings. They are like, that's not cloud native. That's not cloud first. But then again, we know how it all goes. We know if you try to migrate or you're migrating from something called hybrid to something cloud native, you need to deal with the shared drives or you need to do something with it. And sometimes the only thing you can do in the meantime, because you still have an old school app that can be executed from a cloud native device, but somehow still relies on some data that is living on a share somewhere because it's hard coded in the application itself. So you still need to have a shared drive mapping, which is, it's bad, but then again, well, you can always use a PowerShell script that just checks the user in which groups it is and just connects to the proper shared folder with the proper drive letter. That's one possibility. The other possibility is use the ADMX file, just import it in Intune. And if you just have one drive, or if you only need one drive letter, the ADMX option is the way to go. Just import the ADMX, define the drive letter, define the server name, and just deploy to the devices, and that's it. And printer mapping, yeah, I also have a strong opinion about it because most of the time I will just say, just ensure that the drivers are on the device itself, and please just buy Printex. I'm not working for Printex, but just buy a proper solution.
Hashtag ad, yeah.
Back in the days, we was trying to deploy drives, trying to deploy printers to all devices with PowerShell scripts, with Win32 packages. It works perfectly okay, but the moment we just deployed Printex, it was like plunk, 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 and it's done. Oh, do we need to add a printer? Yes, click, and it's done. So it depends if you have the money, if you want to pay money for it, but buy yourself the product, buy yourself the tooling that does the printing mapping for you. Otherwise, you will be still deploying printer drivers to all devices and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, if you can deploy Printex to all of your devices and you can manage it from a central plane, yeah.
Did you see the comment from Martin?
Even with using item level targeting, that's going to be fun.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm glad I'm not you, Martin.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
I'm very sorry for you because, yeah, it's again, the RMX works pretty fine, but 300 drive mappings. Oh my, no, that's no, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the question is, do they really need 300 drive mappings? I assume, knowing Martin, he asked that question to them, but I'm like, why? Why 300 drive mappings? Why?
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. Moving from hybrid to cloud native, you need to deal with GPOs, you need to deal with printed drivers and shared drive mapping. So yeah, there are solutions. Most of the time it involves PowerShell. Sometimes it involves an ADMX import and just define the policy and be done with it. And sometimes you need to buy the proper tool to do so.
Exactly. I actually, for the drives, shared drives topic, I looked into GSA, Global Secure Access, where I basically installed the servers on a Windows server and then just made it publicly available. I think it was just a small partition that I tested on, a small drive. And when I installed the GSA client on my Windows and macOS device, I was able to access that shared drive.
Okay.
That's also possible, but again, GSA is a different topic, and it's not really. It's a lot.
You have a couple of hours.
Yeah. It's a lot to discuss our GSA, but it's also possible to do it that way. Yeah, but I think this topic, I don't like that topic. It involves, like, if you talk with people, it involves a lot of politics stuff, and it doesn't really have to do anything technical, because if Martin has to handle 300 drive mappings, something is wrong there, to be honest.
Oh, the moment I go to bed this evening, I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. Oh, Martin Himken needs to deal with 300 drive mappings. Okay.
Yeah, I will sleep like a baby because I don't have that problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, hopefully Martin and me are still be friends after this show, but okay.
He will call you in a second.
Oh, that's all the pop-ups I'm getting. Okay.
Yeah, there's a very long comment here from Fatih. The printer topic is a bit complicated. If it's a local printer, it's usually managed via PowerShell or similar methods. That's right. If there's no user context or no user logged on, the situation changes. If there's a user, then solutions like Papercut as well. Yeah.
Papercut is the second one, but that one is a little bit more expensive than Printex so far, I know.
Yeah. Obviously, we are not getting paid by these people, so let's just look into it. And yes, there is a community tool called Rock My Printers.
Rock My Printers from
Yeah, that's a very good one. I definitely recommend looking into that one. Yeah. Oh yeah, Joost. He knows his stuff. Share is simpler, but don't forget the cloud trust SSO. Oh my God, yeah. All right, next topic before we go crazy with this one. There we go. Let's make it bigger. I have enrolled, so this is from Aravind. I have enrolled in my mobile device to work profile and deployed an Edge browser in the work profile. Now I want to block user personal Gmail login in work profile browser. How can we do it?
I want to block Gmail. Oh, well, that one is yours. Have fun with it. Blocking Gmail login on a work profile. Okay.
Yeah. Well, how would you do that? I think the app protection policy, right, would help you.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer to this question.
And
I wouldn't. Yeah.
it's an unmanaged device with the work profiles of it. In my opinion, you always need to deploy an app protection policy, no matter what. If the device is managed or unmanaged, you always want to deploy a app protection policy to ensure the data on itself is protected. So the data that lives in the app is protected by app protection. And app protection, you can also define some rules that you are going to block some certain apps, some URLs, and that kind of stuff. It's been a while since I played with app protection for Android phones, but back in the days, I knew that you could select some stuff that you wanted to be blocked in the work profile. So yeah, app protection. Yeah, that will be, in my opinion, it's already should have been on the device. So yeah. I don't know if you know some other solution as well.
No, that's the first thing that I was thinking about. I think that's the solution to this question. Yeah, Martin is commenting. I will see you somewhere this year.
No, if you are going to MMS, I will buy you a beer.
I think he will be happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah, a nice free beer. Okay, yeah, next one.
All right, I think that's all for the community questions. I see that. I mean, I don't want to ignore any questions in the chat, but if you look at the time, we only have like 24 minutes left for this session.
Yeah,
and
we can do a couple minutes more, but yeah.
I really want to first finish and give you the time, Rudy, to talk about the certificatory, because I think it's very important. And as far as I can understand it, it impacts everyone, basically.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Exactly, because, well, secure boot, I guess we all know what secure boot is, what it does, but yeah, well, just like the picture tells us, it ensures that only trusted software is executed during the boot process, which is perfectly fine. And I guess we have it all enabled by default on all of our devices, which it should be in the first place. But yeah, there's a small thing going to happen, and I assume every IT admin in the world or in the community knows about it. If not, well, just look at the picture. The secure boot certificate, secure boot certificates are going to expire this year, at the end of this year. And well, that can be impactful because you need to do something with it. It's not that some magic is going to happen that those certificates are going to be updated. So we need to do or take action. So if you go to the next slide, yeah, it tells the picture pretty well, because this secure boot certificate, we need to ensure that it's going to be updated, because if that certificate is not going to be updated, all future secure boot updates will not be getting deployed. And that's something what we don't want to happen, because if you look at the left of the slide, you will notice that back in the day, there were like 24 secure boot vulnerabilities. And if you don't update that secure boot certificate, those updates that are going to fix those secure boot things will not be getting deployed, or maybe it will even break the device if you don't ensure that the secure boot certificate is updated. So we need to do something with it, right? Because it needs to be updated. So if you go to the next slide, and I also need to add, of course, I marked it even in red, and I didn't talk about it. So far I know, so far I've heard, but I was reading Martin Himken in his blog, and he told also, I'm not sure because I needed to scroll a little bit, so I'm not sure if I read it 100% correctly, right? But so far I know, if you don't update, or if you have some devices that are not getting updated, or the secure boot certificate is not getting updated because the vendor doesn't supply the proper firmware first, well, okay, you don't have the possibility to deploy any secure boot updates to the device, but at least the device will still boot. So that's at least, well, something, I think. So the main question is...
Here's a question from Marcel. He asked a quick question on the secure boot certs. Who is pushing these certs on the device?
Well, you need first...
Microsoft.
Yeah, you first need to ensure that the BIOS firmware supports it. So if you have a Dell device, I even updated my own device this morning just to figure out if my device was already capable for the secure boot certificate. And I was looking at the Dell website and I'm like, oh, well, that's a new update that was just released last week. So you first need to ensure that all your devices can support it. If the device itself doesn't have the proper firmware, deploying the certificate update, which is done by Microsoft, is not going to work. So if you go to the next slide, that explains a little bit what we can do, because we can configure a simple Intune policy, right? Microsoft gave us the best solution. Just go into Intune portal, search for secure boot, and just deploy one simple policy to enable secure boot certificate updates, which is in fact the just do it switch, right? It's pretty easy. You just configure the policy, you deploy it to devices, and within the policy you have like two options available: managed opt-in and a high confidential opt-out, which means that the device is just trusted, and the managed update opt-in is just the Microsoft Control Future rollout that is configured. So it's pretty easy, right? You configure the policy, just flip two switches and deploy it to devices, which is good, but you can also do it with PowerShell, which is maybe also a better solution, right? Well,
Rudy, just one quick question. So when I configure the settings on the left, the policy,
yeah,
like where is this update coming from? Is that Windows Update Service?
It depends, but if you configure the Microsoft Update Managed opt-in, that's the Microsoft Control Future rollout.
Oh, okay.
But then you can also configure the last one, but then you do the opt-out. So that's something you don't want to do.
Got it. But when we do have this policy, why would we need PowerShell?
Well, because one, people like to just use PowerShell when they have an Intune policy in place. That could be a perfect solution or the perfect reason behind it. But well, if you go to the next slide, then I guess it tells it pretty well, because if you deploy that policy to all of your devices, well, have fun with that, because at that moment, when you take a close look at the policy status, you will notice that all of the policies will show you the error of 65,000, which just is a most generic error Microsoft can throw at you. You don't see anything else. You just only notice 65,000, which means a lot, because it just means, hi, I'm the policy manager on the device and I have no clue what I need to do with the policy. But if you take a close look on the device itself, you can notice that it was rejected by licensing, which in my opinion is so weird that that policy is going to be rejected, because Microsoft came up with a solution to deploy the policy to all of your devices, but somehow that policy is rejected, even while the documentation clearly states that it should work on Pro and Enterprise devices. But somehow that policy manager on a Pro device and an Enterprise device doesn't work, which is pretty weird. So the moment I noticed that this issue was occurring, well, guess what I normally do? I look at code for fun. So I was like, I know that the policy manager DLL file on the device itself is capable, or that's DLL file responsible for this whole flow. So I was like, well, I was like, well, reject by licensing. It's pretty clear what's happening, but because it was not working on Pro devices and Enterprise devices, I was like, well, let's see what happens in the code. So let's see if I just can share my screen.
Yeah.
From here, screen share. And then we go to the entire screen, if that's going to work. If not, well.
I think I can enable it right here.
Yeah, and there we go. So I'm going to do this a little bit because it's on my other screen. But when I need to do debug something, I first want to know how it works from the code in, because I need to know how it should work. If I don't know how it is going to work, how am I going to debug it? So the first thing I always do is first I need to find the proper DLL file that is responsible for that part. So in this case, the policy manager, which makes perfectly sense because that file is responsible for all policies and how they arrive on the device. So I just open it with my most favorite tool, the IDA tool, because that's the tool I use to debug executable and DLL files. If you have .NET DLL files, you need to use the .peek tool. But well, let's say I'm going to just open the IDA tool. I already opened the policy manager DLL file, and well, it's pretty easy because normally what I'm normally do is just searching for the magic keyword, because as we noticed in the event log, the policy was rejected by licensing. So I'm like, well, if that's in the event log, the code behind it should at least know or at least contain that same sentence, right? So I first start searching in the DLL file, and within 1 or 2 seconds, I get 2 results back. So I'm like, let's see what's in it. So I just open the first overview, and as you immediately can see, Enterprise Diagnostic Policy Manager policy is rejected by licensing. This was exactly what we were seeing in the event log. So if I'm right at first, I'm like, well, let's follow what's going to happen, or how that event log, or what triggered that part of the code. And well, normally you can just go with the nice red line. So you need to follow not the green lines, but the red line. So I just go up and up and up until I notice something called Enterprise Policy Manager is area policy SLAPI allowed? And then I was like, SLAPI? I never heard of that one before. So I was like, well, not sure what it is, but before going down the rabbit hole, I was like, let's first move up a little bit. Let's see what I'm noticing. But I was like, well, there's not much in it, but still, I'm not sure if this is the proper function I need to look at. So as you can see here, it's not pretty big, so it's very small code. So normally what I'm doing, I'm just going to get the name of the policy, which is on top, and I'm going to just find out if this is the function I'm really looking for. Because if it takes long, and if it takes a big function, so for example, as you can see here on the graph overview, this is one of the main functions inside the policy manager. And if that function I'm looking for is in one of the main functions, well, I know I'm on the right track. So if I know if I'm on the right track, then I just go back in the code, and then I just go back to the part I was looking at first, because if I find something weird in it, or something I don't, or I can't explain for myself, well, why don't I just click on it? So I did the same thing, and then I, just like I was doing just a couple seconds ago, I just go down with the flow, and within a couple of seconds, I noticed something funny, because it was telling me the Enterprise Policy Manager license. I was like, well, that's funny, and you can also click on that. And within a couple of seconds, I noticed the Enterprise Policy Manager license MDM allow list. So I was like, okay, an MDM allow list, that sounds like something I'm looking for. So if I go back to the same function and go to the IDA view to get a better understanding, graph, yes, no, not that one. I want this one. And if I go back, what I just can see, if I go here and this one, it's going to find, or it's going to try to get that string. So it's going to find the MDM policy allowed string from somewhere. And if I know that it's going to find, of trying to just search, of going to find that proper string somewhere, it's very easy, because the next thing I normally do is just open the text scroller on my device, let it search in, say, Windows System 32 or the whole, say, Windows folder, and within a couple of seconds, I got something funny, because inside the, say, Windows System 32 SPP tokens, SKUs, professional, enterprise, I noticed that same license file. And well, the moment you open that one, and then I need to move it to the other window. Yes. Allow. MDM allow. Oh, nee, allow, policy allow. What was it? And where was it? Oh, well, I can do this. That's even simpler, because oh, no, there's a mom. So it is the MDM policy allow list. So within a couple of seconds, I found the file that was holding the information that, in my opinion, the software licensing API was searching for. But it was pretty weird, because even in the Pro Enterprise license file, even in the tokens.dot file that the software licensing API was calling upon, it was telling me that it was shown the secure boot value and that MDM policy allow list. But well, and then we need to go to the slides, I think.
Yep.
So I'm going to stop sharing.
There we go. Wait, that's all.
Yeah, then, oh no, and one back.
Yeah.
So again, the whole licensing manager is going to find that secure boot in the MDM policy allow list. But somehow that Slappy, I still think it's a very funny, weird name, but somehow that Slappy is not aware of subscription activations. So the moment you have a Pro device and you are enrolling it into Intune and you have subscription activation enabled, so for example, the E5, it will be upgraded, or the enterprise add-on will be activated. And the moment the enterprise add-on is going to be activated, the whole software licensing API doesn't understand the secure boot policy, or it couldn't find the secure boot policy anymore in the MDM policy allow list. And guess what it just says? The policy is rejected by licensing. So for or if you just enroll all of your devices with enterprise from the start on, but that will be a little bit weird, because then you are paying for enterprise, and you also have the E5 license in place, which holds also the enterprise license. So that's a little bit weird. So in my opinion, if you want to ensure that the secure boot certificate is going to be updated, ensure that the device is updated first. And well, for now, deploy a PowerShell policy to set those registry keys, because the policy is only configuring those 3 registry keys to ensure the secure boot certificate is going to be updated. So hopefully Microsoft will figure out why the subscription activation thing is not working. I know they added it as a known issue that it's not working on Pro, but it's also not working on enterprises, all enterprise devices. It's, in my opinion, is yeah, not the best thing.
I hope that, I mean, we still have some time. Although I think larger enterprises should definitely look into it very early to not have problems later on, because, well, it expires on that certain day. It can't be delayed. There's nothing to do right there, right? You have to fix it until then. Well, when I was thinking about what you mentioned, PowerShell, right? I expect someone is able to share in the community a proactive remediation script for the community.
Yeah, there are multiple community proactive remediation scripts already there that is going to just check every single if the secure boot certificate is indeed the old one, if the device is capable of updating it, if the register keys are configured, and if not, well, then the remediation kicks off, and then it just configures those policies. The only thing is that the device needs to reboot like 2 times or something like that to ensure that it will get updated, but at least it works. That's better than having nothing.
Yeah, I think like let me show the comment from Marcel again. I think it's better to have like this option of remediation scripts just in case you don't want to have problems in October this year. No, and believe me, people will have problems in October. Definitely.
Yeah, but I'm going to assume that like I was showing the policy, Microsoft can also do a gradual rollout. So if Microsoft sees that the device is trusted, because all the diagnostics that are sent over to Microsoft, they can choose to put all devices, or not all devices, but a subset of all the trusted devices in a container and just ensure that those devices will get the secure boot certificate updated automatically. I assume that is the, how do you call it, the not the panic button, but the backup plan. If that policy is not going to work, then they can at least ensure that the secure boot certificate will be updated. So there's no, how do you call it? No, yeah, how do you call it? Well, don't get upset if it's not going to work for right now, but Microsoft seems to be working on it in both scenarios. So they were trying to fix the policy, which is the best thing because, well, if you have a policy, it should work and it should be tested, which it didn't, I think. So hopefully that policy will get working within a couple of weeks, months, but yeah.
I like Martin, he is smart. You just go on vacation and then come back when everything is solved. Yeah.
Oh, I made the same joke for the next topic on the internet, on Twitter.
Yeah. Just I think that question is important. So how can I know if a machine's secure boot cert has been upgraded?
In the proactive remediation, there is also a check that it just checks the certificate, because you have a PowerShell command that you can just query that secure boot certificate, and if it has that name or that date in it, then you know it's renewed.
Yeah, I can't, for some reason, I can't copy paste this from the message from Akos, but that's like Florian Salzman has a proactive remediation script. So definitely have a look into his repo, and I think it will show you also how it checks for the secure boot certificate. Is there anything else? Wait. No, that was too quick.
Oh yeah, there's also an Ask Me Anything coming up, so I assume that they are now pretty aware of the subscription activation issue, so they will address it during that Ask Me Anything.
What about the BIOS update? Will it include the updated certificate?
No, it only ensures, so far I've read, that it is capable of that new certificate. So
yeah, and there's also a Microsoft. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, but yeah, you need to ensure that the BIOS firmware, as I just stated previously, that needs to be capable of that new certificate. And there's a whole technical flow behind it, why the BIOS needs to be updated. But I was reading it, I'm like, okay, nope. If I read it, this will go out of my brain within 10 seconds. So never mind, I know it needs to be updated, and that's it.
That's it, so, right? Yeah. And I think that's a very good tip here as well, is Microsoft is also doing a secure boot AMA on the 5th of February.
Which is a smart thing.
Yeah, we need more like visibility on this case, I think. So that's very good. Definitely make sure to attend this AMA as well. All right, I think we can go to the next. Oh man, we are almost at 1 hour, so
we need to hurry up.
It's fine. Yeah, next topic. Another certificate expiry.
Yeah, another one. Because if you go to the next slide, well, I was posting this on Twitter, on X and LinkedIn like 4, 5, 6 months ago. that somehow of somebody approached me that the Intune certificate was not getting renewed, and I was playing around with it, and then I was like, hey, that's weird. All of my devices showing the same date that the certificate is going to expire. I'm like, wait a sec. And then I noticed that the Intune MDM device, the root certificate, is going to expire. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be funny, because that means that all of the devices that Intune certificate needs to be renewed. So the main certificate needs to be renewed, but also the Intune device certificate on the device needs to be renewed. And I was like, okay, I know a thing or two about the Intune certificate itself. So I was like, well, again, let's figure it out. So if we go to the next slide. As the same thing with Secure Boot, it shouldn't be a problem, because Microsoft normally, just the same with Secure Boot, Microsoft will ensure that that Intune MDM device certificate and the device certificate attached to it will be renewed automatically, and they will do so by just sending or pushing a renew now command to all of your devices, and you will never know it. But the moment they push that CSP to the device, it will trigger the certificate to reach out to the service and ask for the new certificate, and well, it will install it right away. And the funny thing is, I also tried to push that CSP myself a couple of times on my device, and every single time it renewed the certificate. So don't do that, but it was funny to at least look at. But again, it shouldn't be a problem. Should. So if we go to the next slide. The moment I posted that thing on X and LinkedIn, I was already looking at two nice issues. One of them, in my opinion, is a big one, because as example, if you have a merger of a company, normally you have the new domain name and the old domain name, right? And then the question is, are you going to wipe all of your devices, or are you just going to change the UPN, change the domain name, or add the domain name to the tenant, remove the domain name later on, change the UPNs, and be done with it? Or are you going to re-enroll all of your devices? Well, if you don't re-enroll all of your devices, you're gonna have a lot of fun if you kick out that domain name, because during the whole renewal process, the device will reach out to the service, and it will it will hand over one UPN that is static in the registry, and that is tied to the old domain name. That's the UPN which you use to enroll your device with. The moment the device will reach out to the service and it will pass that old domain name in it, and it can't resolve that domain name anymore, guess what's going to happen? Or when the user is not in the MDM scope, the MDM service will just tell you, hey, you don't have the proper license. With you not having the proper license, I'm not going to renew your certificate. Guess what's going to happen if the certificate is not getting renewed? The device will lose all communication with the service. So, in my opinion, if you did merger with two companies, please check out that UPN on the device. And I know somebody that's in the chat that one of the companies had the same thing, and those devices were not checking in anymore, were not receiving policies anymore. After we changed that UPN to the new one and sync the device, the Intune certificate was renewed, and the device starting to communicate anymore. So this is bug one, and that bug is not fixed right yet, but I'm not done, because there is another problem. So that's why I posted that thing on Twitter, on X, because I noticed that there were some weird things going on. So also during the certificate renewal, the whole certificate flow, so that screenshot is part of the MDM enrollment DLL file. And inside that MDM enrollment DLL file, I noticed that during the certificate renewal, it checks all key storage providers. That's the storage provider of the thing that protects the private key behind the certificate. So that can be stored in the software key storage provider or the crypto platform or the platform crypto provider, which is the TPM. So I was like, why does the code checks all the all the KSPs, which it shouldn't do in my opinion, because it only needs to check those two. And why I was looking at it, because somebody reached out to me and they told me, Rudy, all of my devices, the certificates are not being renewed. And that's why I started looking at that code, just figuring out what was happening. And if you go to the next slide, within like a couple minutes after noticing that thing in the code, I asked them to just send me a screenshot of all the KSPs that were on the device. And within a couple of seconds, I was like, bit for ID, that's a weird one. But that's a smart card driver, which is being used in Italy quite often, because they need to have it to do something for the government or send some stuff to the government. They need to have that smart card driver installed. And that smart card also installs the bit for ID key storage provider.
That's a third-party KSP.
Yeah. So if that smart card third-party KSP driver is getting installed, the whole certificate renewal, it doesn't even try to renew the certificate, because at the beginning of the code, it was checking all KSPs. And if there is one broken third-party KSP in that list, which can be in that list, as you can see right now, the whole certificate renewal just broke down. It doesn't showed anything. It didn't show any information, no event logs, just renew, nothing, renew, nothing, renew, nothing. So, and if you go to the next, within a couple months after that bug was found, Microsoft fixed it with another functionality, or they added a feature called bypass third-party KSP in renew. I guess it's all in the name, because the moment I noticed that function of that feature showing up in the code, I'm like, I think I know what this is going to do, and exactly what it was going to do. If the same thing with the IDA tool, I opened that feature and just going down the flow, and then within a couple seconds, I noticed that it was now no longer checking all KSPs. It was now focusing on the software storage provider and the TPM. So I'm very glad that Microsoft added that, and also I'm very glad that they added it in the November update. So it was almost too late, but I was like, well, at least they added it, and then they did a gradual rollout to ensure that this feature was activated on all devices which were impacted by this third-party KSP. So that's why I post stuff on X. That's why I post stuff on LinkedIn, because I found some things and I'm like, well, that's a little bit weird why certificate renewals are not working. And those two things can cause a certificate to not getting renewed, which can be pretty funny if you have that on 10 or 20,000 device, because then 10, 20,000 device will lose communication with the Intune service, and with it, well, if you are a consultant, then it's fun. Then you can just enroll device all day long, but I'm sure you will wait for that. Yeah.
A lot of certificate problems.
Yeah, you ask for certificates. Well, you get certificates. Not one, not two. Oh, well,
this is super important, like topics. Very destructive. I think people have to be aware of these things, and
and again,
glad we talked about that.
Yeah, and normally, as I mentioned before, in the perfect scenario, Microsoft will take care of the secure boot updates, of the secure certificate boot updating, and the same with the Intune MDM device certificate. Microsoft will ensure that it will get renewed. But in every single case, there is a but. But something can be different. Something can happen, and sometimes there are bugs. And well, I want to say it's my job to find them, but it's not my job. But it's my hobby to find them.
I am very happy to have you talk about these things. We are right about 10 minutes over the time.
Could be worse.
Rudy, thank you very much. I'm not sure how the feedback will be from all the people that watched on LinkedIn, on YouTube. I think we would really be happy if some of you guys comment on the stream, so we can have a look at it.
Tell you what you want to hear or want to see next, or what we should talk about, or what we You shouldn't talk about.
I mean, maybe we shouldn't even do it like the next stream. Maybe we should never do it again. So this could also be valid feedback, right?
Yeah.
So
don't do it ever again. Well, it's feedback.
Exactly, it's feedback. So yeah, I will definitely look out for feedback. Very happy that a lot of you guys have watched the stream, and I would say if there's a next stream, I hope so.
I hope
we will
so.
Definitely tell anyone on LinkedIn, and then we'll definitely see you guys around. Rudy, thanks again.
Yeah.
Until
thanks you for joining the party.
Always having fun talking about Intune.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.